Yaqeen. Alhamdulillah, Dr. Mayan is here. I think most of you have probably a good understanding of his background. Dr. Mayan is on the UMJA Fatwa Committee. He's one of the leading Islamic finance scholars. I've had the honor of being on a couple of panels with him. One of the things that I learned, reading his bio today is that Dr. Mayan is also Hafiz Quran and has Ijaza. So mashallah, I already knew he was a very great scholar, and mashallah, this added to his credentials. With that, I'm not going to waste a lot of time. Inshallah, we'll let Dr. Mayan start off, and then we'll open it up for questions. We'll do live questions, and to the extent that we can, we'll try to accommodate all of them, and then afterwards, maybe we can take some afterwards. As I mentioned, I've been in the Islamic finance field for 20 years, and inshallah, with that, we'll get started. Assalamu alaikum.
How much time do we have?
45 minutes total, including questions and answers.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالعلم وزين أخلاقنا بالحلم وافتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. ثم أما بعد. Contemporary Islamic finance issues, or Islamic finance 101 if you wish. This is a very deep and very detailed topic. It has really a lot of technical details that we need hours and hours to cover. This is, by the way, one of the classes that we teach at Guidance College. We do have Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance, where we teach the fiqh al-mu'amalat, and we go through all these technical, tiny fiqh details. And this very quick introduction to the topic, let me say the following. Number one, do not ever think that Islamic finance is just exclusively Islamic finance. It is a Jewish finance, believe it or not. It is a Christian finance. All the main characteristics that we believe in, that we embrace and practice in Muslim community, are the same rules and restrictions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set for the previous nations. When you say Islamic finance, it comes to your mind, نفي الجهالة والغرض, that you need to get involved in a business where you know who is doing what, there is no ambiguity, there is no uncertainty, you know what you will be paying, what you will be getting in return. You know for a fact that you cannot get involved in anything that is harmful to the values and to the ethics of the society or to the environment at large. One of the main characteristics that really distinguishes or differentiates Islamic finance from the traditional finance is the prohibition of interest. The prohibition of interest. And that's why I said in the beginning, it is a Jewish finance, it is a Christian finance. If you return to the Bible with all the observations that we have and the question mark regarding the authenticity of the Bible, let's skip this point and just open and read. You will find a lot of verses where Isa alayhi salatu wasalam and the disciples were prohibiting their followers from dealing with interest. When it comes to the Jewish community, you read in the Quran itself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did prohibit the Jewish community from dealing with interest. وَأَخْذِهِمُ الرِّبَى وَقَدْ نُهُوا عَنْهُ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was criticizing some of the Jewish communities in the past. He said, وَأَخْذِهِمُ الرِّبَى وَقَدْ نُهُوا عَنْهُ. And they used to deal with interest while they were prohibited from doing so. So if you feel more comfortable calling it a divine finance system, you are right. Christian finance system, you are absolutely right. Jewish finance system, you are correct. You want to prefer to keep it as is Islamic finance, that would be fine as well. But again, do not think that we Muslims are coming up with something new or creating something. Well, it is the same tradition that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Musa and Isa and Ibrahim and all the prophets and messengers before. Moving on. What kind of challenge we Muslims actually face here in this society? Let's focus more today, because of the time limitation, on the prohibition of interest, right? What kind of challenge we Muslims face? It's not whether or not riba is haram. Everybody knows that riba is haram. Am I correct? Problem here is that what kind of riba we are referring to, number one. And number two, how to implement or how to track or how to navigate those contemporary financial transactions to find out which one does have riba that has to be avoided and which one does not have interest, so we can get involved, confidently without feeling that sense of guilt. If you attempt to educate yourself in the riba issue, and you go to like any of those traditional fiqh books to read more about interest, you might get more confused than understanding. Come across different examples like exchanging wheat for barley, that's riba. Exchanging apple for orange or rice for sugar, right? All these examples are authentic, are correct, but the problem here is that they are very irrelevant to our society here. They are absolutely outdated examples. Muslims in the United States in 2022 do not exchange barley for wheat. If you want to buy barley or wheat, you go and you purchase it. You pay for it using your cryptocurrency or using your debit card or credit card or check or even cash, cash money. So you get sometimes like more confused than understanding or simplify, keeping the concept, simple. The riba that is implemented in this society is a category of riba in which its prohibition is something that is agreed upon. It's very explicit, very straightforward to the point, right? Now the definition of riba that from now on, whenever I say riba or interest or usury, whatever you want to call it, I refer to the following. And I want you to pay attention to this. The premium that has to be paid, has to be paid by the borrower to the lender, along with the principal amount, either as a condition for the loan or for the extension of its maturity. Okay, I'll say it one more time. The premium that has to be paid by the borrower to the lender, along with the principal amount, either as a condition for the loan or for the extension of its maturity. So from this definition, there is something called a premium, surplus, extra, and something else called principal amount, right? And we have two different parties here. We have a borrower and we have a lender. So definitely we're talking about loan agreement. Someone actually is lending money to somebody else, okay? And we have two different scenarios, either as a condition for the loan or for the extension of its maturity. Condition for the loan means that if you are not willing to commit yourself to pay a certain amount, percentage, APR, lump sum, whatever, on top of the principal, then you cannot proceed with the transaction. Okay? You go to Bank of America nowadays, you apply for investment loan or for personal loan, right? The loan is offered for 3% APR. APR stands for annual percentage rate. If you tell them, well, I'm a practicing Muslim, I do not pay interest, well, that's very good for you, but you are in the wrong place, right? If you are not committing yourself to paying interest upfront and you commit to that, then there is no loan for you. So this is actually what I mean by the condition, as a condition for the loan, or otherwise for the extension of its maturity, right? It did happen in the past during the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ, before the permanent prohibition of interest. كان الرجل يقرض الرجل فإذا جاء الأجل قال أمهلني وأزيدك. People used to lend one another interest-free loan, believe it or not, no interest, no riba. Upon the maturity of the loan, the borrower would approach the lender by saying, the loan is due, I know, but I do not have money. Would it be possible to give me more time and I will pay you more? I will pay you more money. فأنزل الله سبحانه وتعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا إن كنتم مؤمنين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited riba. Riba in this ayah actually is referring to riba diyun or riba jahiliyyah or riba nasiya, which is the very straightforward interest-bearing loan that people actually practice, or the finance system in the US actually is embracing nowadays. Let me put you in this spot. Who can give me an example, like a contemporary example, for interest-free loan where the interest might be introduced toward the end or toward the maturity of the loan?
Credit cards.
Credit card, ahsan, mashallah, excellent, jazakallah khair. So alhamdulillah, we do have some contemporary examples that are related to that, definition. Moving on. That is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, in which its prohibition is something that is absolutely agreed upon. You want to go with the Hanafi madhab or the Maliki or the Shafi'i, or it does not make any difference. Riba diyun is the most severe, is the most prohibited one. It is the premium that has to be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount, either as a condition for the loan or for the extension of its maturity. So from now on, whenever I say interest, I refer to this category, which is riba ad-diyun, the interest-bearing loan. So far so good? Back to the challenges that we face here. Why it is hard for us to navigate through the system and to be able to determine without asking our mashayikh and ulama which transaction is riba based and which one is not. Why? Because in the real life, we come across certain transactions, deals, charges, right, that do not match whatever we have studied in the classical fiqh books. And here is the gap that we need to fill. I'll give you an example. It's really hard to read like a very good definition or clear definition of the maybe late fees. You come across, I mean, sometimes you get charged by others, right? Or sometimes you find yourself, able to charge other people. Sometimes late fees, sometimes overdraft charge, cashback, penalty, bonus, interest, what else? Overdraft charge, and so on and so forth. So those are the real, actual examples that we come across every single day, and we do not know whether or not, that's the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited or not. Now our job actually is to navigate and to find out, or to unlock the secret of every single transaction, and just answer a very simple question. Is it proven that someone is giving money to somebody else? And that recipient actually is guaranteeing the money, which means that regardless of the outcome result, that recipient or the borrower, call them whatever you want, okay, makes a profit, breaks even, incurs loss. The lender himself does not care about the outcome result of there is no partnership, there is no risk sharing, right? It is a risk shifting model. The one who receives the money is fully responsible for it. And he has to commit himself to go back to the lender by giving him the principal and the premium, as we already explained. If that is proven, then this is actually the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, whether or not it is introduced to you as riba. Whether or not. We do not care about the terms that people use. We do not care about it. Like from a pure Islamic finance perspective, we do not care about the terms that you use. What we care about is the essence and the reality of the deal. Again, our job is to unlock the secret of the transaction. If someone is giving money, and that money is guaranteed, and the return on the money is guaranteed, and one party is taking the whole risk, and the other one is not taking any risk whatsoever, that is the interest-bearing loan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, whether it is called interest-bearing loan or it's called otherwise. Very quick examples, kind of like exercise for us to start processing the information and train ourselves on how to pass a fatwa on certain transactions. You do have in your checking account, in your debit card, $500 available balance. You stopped by a point of sale and you purchased an item for $700. $700. Most probably the transaction will go through. And you find yourself, like toward the end of the month, when you receive the monthly statement, that you have to pay back $200 plus $35 overdraft charge. And you start thinking, is the $35 interest or not? Well, here is the answer. You need to reinterpret what happened from a fiqh perspective. What does it mean that I have only $500 and I purchased something for $700? It means that somebody else gave me $200. Is that correct? Is it $200 like a gift? مشان سواد عيوني? Is it? No, it is not. It is a loan that I have to pay back. Am I correct? If the only thing that I need to pay back is the $200, then we should be good. Whatever you have to pay on top of the $200 that you borrowed in our example will be counted as riba by default. By default, you are paying extra. By default, that extra actually is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. This is the default rule. you can easily argue that by saying, oh, this is an abnormal transaction, there's a like more processing, issue, and those $35 might be like the actual cost of processing the 200. That's very, very possible, very possible. But we are not here to discuss details. We are here just to establish very fundamental and basic rules. Another example. Someone actually is asking me to give him or her $10,000 loan. And I told him, okay, I'm going to give you $10,000. Now we are in December 2022. By December 2023, okay, you need to pay me back a total of $11,000. Are you okay with that? He said, yes, I gave him the money. Right? Now, what is the difference between this scenario, okay, and the other scenario where I just go to Wells Fargo and open a saving account? Now, based on the agreement between me and Wells Fargo, the total that they have to pay me back within 1 year investment or like saving account, $11,000. So I gave them $10,000 and I get it back within 1 year. How much? $11,000. I gave my brother here $10,000. I took it back from him. How much? $11,000. The outcome result actually is the same. Outcome result is the same. I gave him the money. The money was guaranteed, and the premium, which is $1,000, our example, is guaranteed as well. I gave my money to Wells Fargo, and the principal is guaranteed, and the premium on top of the principal is guaranteed as well. There is no difference between this scenario and that scenario where I open a saving account with Wells Fargo. And that's why, again, by default, opening a saving account is not a halal option for practicing Muslims. Now, what is the alternative? That's completely different discussion. Again, I have only half an hour, and I want to establish some very fundamental, basic rules of riba, right? A third example. Use your credit card, okay, and you get what is called cashback. Okay, you purchased an item for $100. Because of the cashback policy or promotion that they have, you receive $5, right? So you ended up, the borrower, paying $100, and you paid back how much? 95. So you pay less than what you have borrowed. Okay, this is absolutely the opposite of riba. If you, the borrower, like the user of the credit card, if you borrow $100 and you pay it back 105, that's the riba. Straightforward, am I correct? But if you pay out of pocket, or you borrow $100 and you pay it back 95, then that's completely the opposite of riba, right? And examples actually go on and on. Now, those are just, very few examples for us. Just to, conceptualize the riba issue and how to go through the system. Of course, we have a lot of examples here to mention, but because of the time, those are just a few examples to show us that this is my job as a Muslim. Okay? Before I pass a fatwa, I need to find out, is it proven that someone is giving money to somebody else, and that recipient of the money is guaranteeing the principal and guaranteeing the return, and the money advancer or financier or lender, call him whatever you want, okay, whatever you want, is not taking any risk whatsoever? If the answer is yes, then this is an interest-bearing loan, even if it is introduced to you as murabaha or partnership or musharaka or ijara, it does not make any difference whatsoever. And this actually brings to our attention a very fundamental fiqh maxim or قاعدة فقهية العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. What matters in transactions is the essence and the reality, not the wording or the formality. We do not care that much about the terms that you use. Sometimes, we tend to manipulate and just to, change the terms. You just remove riba and you put murabah or profit. Well, do whatever you want. Okay? You need to show me in reality that that the money advancer is taking risk with the money recipient. As simple as that. That is the traditional / capitalist finance, philosophy or like mode of finance, right? It is a risk shifting model. The money advancer is not taking any risk whatsoever, right? And the money recipient is the one who is taking the risk. In the Islamic finance system, just close your eyes and imagine that we live, somewhere, somehow, in a place or location where Islamic finance system is implemented 100%. It's not the case nowadays, unfortunately. Just imagine for discussion purposes. And you went to Islamic Chase or Islamic Bank of America, and you applied for $100,000 loan, right? Will they give you $100,000 loan? No, they will not. Because loan is not a mode of finance in the Islamic finance system. Loan is not a mode of finance. This is a very, very fundamental, unnegotiable, uncompromisable principle of Islamic finance. Loan is not a mode of finance. If someone approaches me and he or she wants $10,000 as qardun hasan, right? Cannot pay for the rent, or want to pay for the tuition fees of his kids, I'll be more than happy to give him $10,000 for a few days, few weeks, few months, and then I receive that money. And I will anchor the inflation. I will take care of everything, because giving a loan actually is an act of devotion. It's an act of sadaqah. You do it for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if someone approaches me asking me for $100,000 interest-free loan, and I know for a fact that he will be taking that money to upgrade his business, right? He wants my money for 3 years or 2 years to upgrade his business. Is it a good idea for me to give him $100,000 to make money from my money and then come back after 2 or 3 years giving me $100,000 with a big hug? Jazakallah khair, thank you so much, here is your money back. Is it a good decision? Of course it is not. If I know that you want the money for business purpose, well, let's sit down and talk business. I can give you the money as a business partner. I can give you the money as an investor, right? And we have to comply with one of those so-called Islamic modes of finance. Islamic modes of finance. Very quick example, and I open the floor for question and answer. Let's say that we have two different brothers, Muhammad and Abdullah, right? And both of them actually want to finance for their homes, like mortgaging a house. Muhammad decided to go with a traditional finance institute with Chase. Okay, Abdullah decided to go with the Islamic mortgage company that really practices Islamic finance, not like what we have nowadays. No, that's real, genuine, sound, 100% halal Islamic finance. Okay, Muhammad was approved for $500,000, and he has to pay it back $700,000 within the next 30 years. Abdullah was approved for $500,000, and he has to pay it back $700,000 within 30 years. Someone is just passing by, does not know what's going on whatsoever, and he would say, well, what is the difference? Okay. Muhammad borrowed $500,000 and has to pay it back $700,000, and Abdullah did the same. Well, the difference in the real life is huge and significant. By the way, this kind of confusion and misunderstanding is nothing new. It was raised a while ago, even during the revelation of the Quran. ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. Some people actually get confused. They think that lending money with interest is equivalent to sale agreement. Well, they are not. So Muhammad actually went with Chase, very traditional classical mortgage process in the USA. As you know, the amortization system where you go with the principal and the interest and so on and so forth. Abdullah actually gets involved in a real, genuine, sound Islamic finance process. He paid 5% down payment or equity in the house, along with the Islamic mortgage company who paid 95% to own 95% of the house. And that's called actually a diminishing or declining partnership. Okay? And we have to make sure that they put their name on the title or deed of trust as one of the owners of the property. And based on this deal, you own only 5%, or Abdullah owns only 5%, right? And he wants to occupy or live in that property by himself along with his family members. So it makes a lot of sense that he has to pay rent for the Islamic mortgage company. Is that correct? He owns 5% and he wants to occupy the whole property. So he has to pay fair rental value. Now, instead of him paying only $2,000 fair rental value, okay, they ask him to pay $2,500. Those extra $500 will go toward the equity of the house. So he starts with 5% equity, 95% the mortgage company. And then after paying $500, he became 6% owner, they became 90, 94, 7%, 93, and so on and so forth, all the way until the very last payment where he kicks them out of the deal. That's why they call it declining or diminishing partnership, right? So he pays the fair rental value, and on top of it, he pays extra amount for the equity, like, to establish more equity. Not only that, throughout the whole partnership long, they have to share the main expenses of running the property, namely tax, maintenance, insurance, proportionally. Like in the first year, Abdullah owns only 10% of the property because of the defined partnership. He has to pay only 10% of the property tax, insurance, and maintenance. Maintenance, I mean the major, not the wear and tear, no, like something that's really significant, foundation issues, ceiling, air conditioning, something that's really, significant. So tax, maintenance, and insurance, have to be actually divided proportionally between the two different parts, because that's a real, genuine, sound partnership between the Islamic mortgage company and the client or the Amir. Let's say after maybe 20 years, Abdullah decided to quit. He's not interested in staying in Chicago, he want to go somewhere else. That would be fine. He has to put the house in the market for sale. If there is any depreciation, like decrease in the market value, and he owns 70% of the house, he incurs 70% of the loss, and the Islamic mortgage company incurs only 30%. If there is an appreciation, right, like increase in the market value, well, he takes 70% of the profit, and they take 30% of the profit. So although the outcome result, if you have no idea, you might think, oh, that they are the same, Muhammad and Abdullah, but in reality, the difference actually is huge. Is huge because of the significant amount of risk that the Islamic mortgage company actually is taking. Every single Islamic mode of finance has to bear a certain amount of risk, and that's why the Islamic finance system is based on the risk sharing model versus the risk shifting one. We do not put all the responsibility or the liability or the risk on the shoulder of the Amil or the customer. No, there is nothing called loan that you take money and you pay it back with extra money or with the people. It does not happen in the Islamic finance system. We have to make sure that if it is a murabaha, for example, like a cost plus, that the Islamic mortgage company is buying the property, okay, taking full control over the property, being the legal owner of the property, and then they sell that property back with a higher price. So they take the risk of purchasing and buying the property. If there's an ijara, for example, lease to own, well, they have to purchase the property, okay, and making sure that the Islamic mortgage company is the lessor, is the landlord, is the lessor, and the customer actually is the lessee, with all the duties and responsibilities that the lessor actually has to take. Musharaka, I already explained. Istisna, whatever the mode of finance actually might be. This does not mean that it is impossible for us Muslims to practice our deen and to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our daily transactions in the same way that we obey Him in our ibadat. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to be obeyed in the ibadat and in the muamalat as well. When there is a will, there is a way. And I can assure you all that if one day the Muslim community decides to stand united and to establish Islamic, genuine, sound Islamic finance companies, whether for mortgage purposes or for investment or for whatever the purpose might be, we are definitely able to. We do have a lot of restrictions here because this is like a very global, dominating capitalist, economic and finance system. But in the same way that we have a lot of challenges, we have opportunities, right? And I don't want to mention like different communities who put their resources together and they establish themselves. They become like very, very influential in this society because of standing for their principles. Once we, Muslim community, decide to stand for our principles and values, we can do actually a lot. I think my time is almost over, and am I correct?
Yes, we have about 17 minutes left.
So should I stay here and just wait for the questions, or want me to?
What are you more comfortable with? If
You
you want to stay there, I'll moderate from here. If you want to sit,
Go.
then I'll moderate from there. So, okay. Okay, inshallah, we'll open it up for questions and answers. I'm sure there's many. I would suggest that you line up at the mic is probably the easiest way to do it, inshallah. Are you okay with public questions? Go ahead, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Speaking of a business deal, as you tafaddalt with the examples, if you lend somebody $100,000 to buy a truck, for example, that he will be working on. You have partial ownership in the truck. And suppose the truck is for $200,000 to make it easy. So 50%, I own 50%, the brother owns 50%. How do you go about calculating if he's paying through the year, at the end of the year? Suppose that he paid $25,000. So now he owes only $75,000. And on top of that, the business profit for the year. How do you differentiate between the beginning of the loan of 100,000, the end of the loan at the end of the year 75,000? How do you calculate?
Every single mode of finance has a lot of technical details on how to distribute the profit. And honestly, this is something actually needs a class in Islamic finance. So it is close to impossible to go through all these details like in those very few minutes. So if I can be excused from answering, you will do me a favor actually, because we have a lot of details. But if I have enough time after I finish, inshallah, I promise we'll stand with you inshallah outside and answer.
Dr. Mayan, through guidance, do you guys allow people to audit just the Islamic finance classes? Through the Guidance University?
Audit? What do you mean audit?
By audit, it means that you don't have to sign up for the whole bachelor's program. You can only take 1 or 2 classes. Is that possible? Like if someone wanted more details?
Yeah, if someone is interested in taking classes like a listener or audit, it is an option. I mean, you can pick and choose classes.
I mean, because everyone here seems to be interested. Right. Maybe they just want to take your Islamic finance class. That way you can go deeper.
And by the way, Guidance College has nothing to do with Guidance Residential. They are 2 different organizations. We're an academic institute, and they are like practitioners. They offer homes and further.
Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, this might be like out of the scope of what the discussion was, but I want to work as a financial advisor, but I'm a little conflicted on where I can work. A firm I want to work at is American-based, working in those kinds of investments, and my salary would come from a fee based on assets under management, and would that salary working at an American-based firm?
It depends, Habibna, on the core business of that company. If it is a traditional finance company, then this is a very gray area. It's not pure halal, but it's not pure haram, by the way. It depends on what kind of service. But the good news here is that we do have more than 10 different Muslim-owned, ethically responsible mutual fund companies in the USA. Alhamdulillah, we are growing. We are challenging the system. But we have a lot of mutual fund companies who are owned by Muslims. We have tens, if not even hundreds, of different private companies who work in car dealership business or real estate syndication. They bring money from the market, from the Muslim investors. You can join any of those institutes. So you do not have to work for corporate America to make sure that your business is halal, your job is halal. You can just navigate and look for those different opportunities and work for them. We have, alhamdulillah, several Islamic mortgage companies in the USA who are working diligently hard to provide an Islamic alternative. Maybe they are not in the same level of Sharia compliance, but at least at the end of the day, they should be appreciated and thanked so much for the effort that they are doing, to challenge the system and to provide something that is, halal enough for us to finance.
Thank you.
So one thing I'm interested in is commercial real estate, and my understanding of how most commercial real estate in the United States works today is that this project sponsor gets a couple investors to give them equity, and then takes that equity and personally guarantees all their assets to the bank and says, "Can I have this much money to fund my project from the bank in terms of a loan?" And that loan is always haram because it's an interest-based loan. And sometimes they even have loans that are interest only for a couple of years until they start paying their principal back. My question is, how do Muslims in America, or in a Western country where this is the norm, how do we go about investing in commercial real estate and also being competitive with firms that can simply pay for money?
If you attempt, Akhi, to penetrate the system and find a loophole and to practice Islamic finance, to be honest with you, you are wasting your time. Because of the severe incompatibility between the traditional finance system versus the Islamic one. There is a severe incompatibility. You cannot practice genuine sound Islamic finance within a non-Islamic finance system. So the only option that you have is to challenge the system by establishing like parallel organizations, okay, banking-free Islamic institutions. I'm the Sharia consultant of several, private, equity companies, and some of them work in the stock market, some of them work in the car dealership business, some of them work in the real estate, and they are able to bring tens of millions of dollars from within what is called the private capital market. We have a lot of Muslim investors who have tens, if not even hundreds of millions of dollars. They just put them aside, waiting for like halal opportunity for them to invest. Once you put the structure or the mode of finance in a halal way, right, certified by someone or a group of scholars who are really sound in this field, and go like public and tell them, listen, this is a Sharia compliant business model. You will bring tens of millions of dollars. Okay? And I've been witnessing this here, and I know exactly what I'm talking about. So to answer your question, the answer is to challenge the system. Okay, you need to ignore Chase and Bank of America and Wells Fargo, and you establish your own institute. Always when there is a will, there is a will. We have a lot of opportunities here, but unfortunately we are not up to the speed, up to the challenge. However, we are improving. You cannot compare the financial status of the Muslim community back in 1960 or 1970 with Muslims in the USA in the 2022. MashaAllah, we are growing tremendous and establishing more and more, institutes and getting more and more involved, in this industry. But to answer the question, like in particular, well, there is no way. Once you go to a bank and borrow money with interest, then you are committing the riba that you want to avoid. No.
And I just want to say, having been in the field for 20 years, that really, once you start, and now, mashallah, we have consultants like Dr. Ma'in, the doors just open up. I'm sure Dr. Ma'in has seen the same thing. And then for the young brother that was looking for a job, I mentioned I'm at Amana Mutual Funds. We're always hiring. So you don't have to go somewhere else.
We have mutual fund companies, and we have mortgage companies, and we have actually private companies who operate. I mean, they're not publicly traded in the stock market. Small entities with maybe up to $100 million. They are doing a wonderful job in the car dealership business and retail business and real estate. Alhamdulillah, they're working perfectly fine. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you. A lot of the stuff that you said is stuff that I didn't already know. But
you know all what I said?
What?
She
You know
said,
all
did
what I
it.
said?
No, a lot of the stuff that you said is stuff I didn't already know. I just turned 18 recently, and navigating my finances is already hard on my own, but to do it in an Islamic way is even harder. Do you have any opportunities that you might gear towards the youth that would teach them about finances? Because that's something I just don't know where to start with.
Academia-wise, I would recommend Guidance College for you, but actually Guidance College, we do have masters in Islamic finance, not undergrad.
If it isn't a decided study field, it was just for general life finances.
I think it is a good idea to expose yourself to the system here and to hold a degree in finance, like traditional finance, for education, for experience purposes, and then you will be utilizing your experience in establishing something that's halal, coming from a traditional finance background. That would be a wonderful idea. I do support that. Yeah, go for it and just get your degree in finance, and then come to Guidance College for masters in Islamic economics and finance.
At the moment, I'm a pre-med student, so I don't really have enough time in my schedule to take finance classes. So I'm wondering if you have something.
Well, becoming a doctor actually is a good idea as well. I mean, at least, and once you graduate, you'll be having a good amount of millions of dollars to invest and help others.
And then you can help establish a finance company, inshallah.
You have a lot of hope for me, but.
بالتوفيق إن شاء الله.
Inshallah.
Assalamu
Salam.
alaikum. Sheikh Khan, can you clarify earning points back on credit cards and debit cards? Can you clarify that point from
when you use a credit card, you are borrowing money, but the net amount that you pay back is less than what you have borrowed, right? And the qaida here is that كل قرض جر نفعا للمقرض فهو ربا. Every single loan that brings a stipulated benefit to the lender. In this very particular scenario, the one who is benefiting and saving money is the borrower. So you borrow 100 and you pay it back net amount 95, right? That's why it is the opposite of riba. When it comes to using a debit card, well, you are not borrowing money to start with. I mean, this is your halal money. Use it, and a kind of promotion or competition between different, banks. They give you like a promotion. Open a checking account. I'll give you $200 free, right? Different like monetary and non-monetary, promotions. That would be fine because there is no loan to start with when you use your debit card and you get some points.
All right.
I did get us an extra 10 minutes for our session, so inshallah we'll be able to get to all the questions.
So 10 minutes plus tax, that's maybe 15 seconds.
I don't know if the 10 minutes is riba though, so this might be an issue.
We'll find a better word.
My question is about guidance residence.
Residential, you mean?
Residential, yeah. So I have a couple of friends who went with guidance to buy houses, and they follow the example or the model you mentioned, which is demolishing partnership. But the issue is, a couple of them, they told me that they get their money from American banks. So after they finish the deal, he got a letter from Chase Bank. Because they
U.S. Bank.
Huh?
U.S. Bank.
Or U.S. Bank. So they're getting their money from. So we're confused. Is it halal or haram? Is going through guide? Do you recommend going through guidance? I know it's a tough question.
Well, it's not tough. It is like a very detailed question. But to keep it simple, Akhil Kareem, those Islamic mortgage companies who deal in the secondary market, right? They are not in the same level of Sharia compliance. منهم ظالم لنفسه ومنهم مقتصد ومنهم سابق بالخيرات. Guidance Residential in particular does not operate as a bank in the USA. They operate as an investment company. So by the mortgage code, by the law of the land, they do have the right of owning the property. They do have the right of owning the property. That's why once you finance with them, they create an LLC. That LLC is a small derivative of Guidance Residential. Why do not they put Guidance Residential itself? Because of the liability separation issue. They want to make sure that they keep the mother organization away from any potential lawsuit. So that LLC is a derivative of Guidance Residential, right? And that LLC owns the property jointly with you, right? This does not mean that they comply with the partnership 100%, not even 80%, not even 70%, right? However, they do take the risk, right? In certain cases, like in case of, for example, what's called an eminent domain, if the property is taken by the state or by the county. In case of natural disaster, in case of foreclosure, okay? If you own 50% and they own 50%, and there is a loss, they're gonna incur 50% of the, of the loss. Overall speaking, and to be very, very realistic, this option, Guidance Residential, is better than other options when it comes to companies who are dealing in the secondary market, okay? Namely, Guidance Residential, University Islamic Financial, Devon Bank, Ijara Loan, and La Riba, right? However, by any chance, if there is any private mortgage company that does not deal in the secondary market, namely Amin Housing in California, and there are some other small attempts, I think Aya and Nia and some other small size Islamic mortgage companies. Those who operate off the secondary market are more Sharia compliant because they do not have to comply with the requirements of Freddie Mac and Freddie Mac. If you take Amin Housing, for example, I was the Sharia consultant along with Sheikh Jamal Zaraboz and Sheikh Salah Al-Sawi maybe 10 years ago. And they asked us to check their contract and to find out what kind of glitches and what kind of mistakes that they have. We did. Okay, they incorporate all the corrections, and mashallah, their mode of finance is excellent. It's way more Sharia compliant than Guidance Residential. Now, to answer the question, Akhi, if you agree with me that Guidance Residential is owning 95% of the property whenever you contract them, right? Whenever you establish that partnership, they sell that 95% to a third party called Freddie Mac. U.S. Bank Akhi is just a processing company, to receive the money. It has nothing to do with the ownership.
But then the issue that they buy their part using money from the bank.
That's another discussion. Even if we agree that even if you agree that their mode of finance is a haram one, you know what? Forget about Guidance Residential. can you partner with your non-Muslim friend who borrows money from Chase? If the partnership is halal, can you partner with him? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Prophet ﷺ dealt with the mushrikeen in Mecca when he went to Medina. He kept transacting with the Jewish community, providing that both communities were dealing with interest. It was never ever reported that Prophet ﷺ refrained from dealing with someone until he asked him, where did you get your money from? So you just draw a line actually between the soundness of the deal that you have with the other party versus where did he get the money from, right? Okay. If the deal itself is genuine and sound enough, then whatever whatever he get the money that's definitely his responsibility.
That's one of the beauties of Islam, is we're not required to go further. But just 2 points of clarification. As Sheikh Mayan said, that U.S. Bank is just a servicer. And the second thing he mentioned, Freddie Mac, Guidance's contract with Freddie Mac is different than any conventional bank's contract with Freddie Mac. And it has the Islamic stipulations in there. So I don't work for Guidance, but I know this from history.
Me too.
So.
I just got a couple of questions. The first one is not about interest. It's your opinion about life insurance that we get from our employers. Life insurance, is it halal, haram? Is it especially if you can buy extra money for life insurance? Second one is for the community that we keep here. The difference between Guidance or other institutes and
Can we limit ourselves to one question because of the time? You see the line behind you? See it?
Okay, just take the first question.
Life insurance, there is a mainstream opinion and there is another opinion. I'm with the other opinion. Okay, I wholeheartedly believe that insurance in general, okay, is a contemporary transaction, contemporary deal, so it is halal by default. Whether it is a commercial one, whether it is a government-based one, whether it is a life insurance, it is halal by default. Okay, there is no evidence to prohibit insurance to start with. Okay, life insurance, Kareem, is a very simple concept. Okay, if you want to compare it to Social Security in the USA, okay, when you have a deal with the Social Security, right, what does it mean? It means that you are deducting $150, for example, from your paycheck. It goes to your account with the Social Security. So the Social Security Administration is telling you, if you give me $150 every month, do not worry, if something la samahalla happened to you, I will take care of your family members. I'm going to pay your wife such and such amount until the end of your life. I will give your kids, and so on and so forth, right? The life insurance company is telling you, give me $150 every single month, and do not worry, if you pass away, right, I will give your family members one check, $1 million. So this is a bilateral agreement, right? Bilateral agreement, two-sided commitment, and this is a two-sided commitment, right? If you do not have a deal and a contract and agreement with the Social Security, and you passed away, they will never sympathize with your family members and start giving them money. So no one actually no one is I want to put it in a nice way, is doing you a favor. It is a legal bilateral agreement. You commit to pay the premium, and by the law of the land, you receive insurance benefit. So Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid from one side, versus life insurance, whether it is mutual-based or stock-based, at the end of the day, all of them are bilateral agreements. It's a legal contract where you commit to paying a certain amount as a premium in order for you to be eligible to receive certain compensation called insurance benefit whenever a certain unfortunate incident happens. So the bottom line here is that I wholeheartedly believe that life insurance as a concept and as a practice actually is halal, with very few exceptions here or there. When it comes to different options that you might have, some of them actually do involve interest. But otherwise, there is no ambiguity, there is no uncertainty. You know from day one, what are you buying, right? How much you have to pay, how much you will be getting in return whenever something happens. So it should be like a halal option by default.
This will be the last. Well, we'll make the Khali after him the last question, inshallah.
I do have a business card here. I can't promise, but inshallah I will do my best to answer your questions if you grab a business card and send me an email. Yes, absolutely.
My question's about, we talked about the worst kind of interest being the interest of Jahiliyyah, and so my question is about, at what point is it the interest so for example, if a finance company says no interest for 5 years, and if you have a job and you're like, I'm sure I can pay this off within that, before the 5 years. Is it interest at the time is it haram when you did into the agreement, or as soon as you have to pay interest on that agreement?
No, actually we have two different categories here. Category number one, where the riba is unavoidable. So here, for example, it's not 0 APR, it is 2 or 3 APR, which means that it is an interest-bearing loan from day one, right? Versus 0 APR. What does mean 0 APR? It means that if you commit yourself to paying the principal within 5, 6, 7 years, whatever, you get to go and there is no consequence. Only and only if you default, you will be charged interest, right? Okay. Ideally speaking, both of them actually are not halal option. Okay? But even fiqh-wise, if the riba is avoidable, which is 0 APR in our example, then you can go with that deal as needed. And definitely the need actually is there. So you need to shop around until you find like a 0 APR finance through different car dealerships. If it is a certain APR, that's an unavoidable interest haram from day one. Okay? And this actually brings to our attention the قاعدة فقهية, the fiqh maxim, الحرام لذاته والحرام لغيره. Okay? Certain categories are prohibited for themselves. And whatever is prohibited for itself cannot be permitted unless there is a necessity. الحرام لذاته تبيحه الضرورة والحرام لغيره تبيحه الحاجة. Whatever is prohibited for other causes would be permitted in case of public and general need. So again, when you go with 0 APR, it's not, you are not paying interest. You agree to pay interest. And there is a very, very high possibility that you commit to paying the monthly payments with 0 interest, right? As long as there is the need for you to go with that option, go for it. I'm making your life easier.
Do you want to just talk on whether...
Yeah, this is
for sharing the knowledge. I have a question, I think it's the right place to ask about cryptocurrency. Is it, are we still in the gray area?
Sort of, yeah.
Still.
Yeah. It's a decentralized currency, right? Its market value or purchase power is fluctuating significantly without us knowing the reason behind that fluctuation. Some people actually use it for money laundering, which is something illegal. Our official position as Majma' Fuqaha Sharia America, as AMJA, the Assembly of Muslim Jews of America, we do not dare saying that this is a haram option. We say, okay, we advise, we recommend our community to stay away from cryptocurrency. But honestly, sister, cryptocurrency nowadays in 2022 is way different from cryptocurrency in 2015. It is imposing itself, it is prevailing every time, everywhere. A lot of intercontinental companies, they do accept cryptocurrency as a payment method. The IRS in the United States started charging tax on cryptocurrency since 2021. You know that? Yeah. So this is a kind of like unofficial acknowledgement that cryptocurrency is a kind of business, right? Yeah. Problem here actually is with the huge amount of ambiguity or gharar that's involved. You buy Bitcoin today for $5,000. Within 2 years, two weeks, it goes up to 15,000. And then if you wait, it goes down to 1,000. What is the reason behind that really significant fluctuation? Mr. Anonymous, who is like doing the business in the back, is the only one who knows. We do not know. Yeah. And this actually makes no sense from an Islamic finance perspective. I always say, real estate is the real investment. Real estate is the real investment. Put your money in real estate, buy a property, rent it, okay, sell it after 2 or 3 years, construct like real estate, buy a piece of, involve your money in an actual, genuine, real, sound business that brings benefit to the society. You add something new. Cryptocurrency actually is none of the above.
It's fluent. I'm comparing it to bonds and assume. I always knew other it's right that in
no, bond is different.
In Islam, I know buying stocks. In Islam, I always believe that's the wrong concept that you have to touch what you buy. You have to have it. It's not. It doesn't have to be virtual.
It has to be. It has to be under your collateral, under your liability. You have to possess it. You have to own it.
Yeah.
Prophet said, "لا تبع ما ليس عندك." Do not sell what you do not own. Right? And he said, "Al-kharaj bil-daman." Prophet follows liability. That liability comes from buying the property. نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن بيع ما لم يقبض وعن ربح ما لم يضمن. Prophet ﷺ prohibited from selling before possessing, right? So that possession actually is the ownership, is the liability that you have to take before you sell the property. وعن ربح ما لم يضمن, as well as he prohibited taking a profit without taking liability. You see, so it's all about, as you said, ownership that brings that risk. You take the risk, and then صحتين وعافية. I mean, you can just make your business and make profit after taking the liability.
Yeah, so it's okay to buy stocks virtually.
Well, you own them. I mean, as long as you are the responsible party. If there is an increase or decrease, who will be liable for it? Is it you or not? Right? Well, then yeah, you should do it now.
Dr. Mine, just on the car thing, if you buy down the rate to zero, is that still okay? You know, on car financing, a lot of times you can buy it down to zero. Even if it's 2% advertised, they'll let you buy the rate down to 0%. Is that also okay?
If the deal itself is zero APR, go for it.
Okay.
As needed. But if there is like even 1% APR, then this is the problem.
Jazakallah khairan. Inshallah, with that, we're going to conclude. We want to thank Dr. Mayan. I encourage everyone to sign up for his classes at Guidance University, inshallah, Guidance College. His cards are up here, so please, if you really want to learn in depth, you have to take the class.